On my personal journey on this issue, after contemplating how the current gurus are not acting as actual masters of their own ashrams, and that the GBC as a body is the ultimate master or authority, I tried to analyze just exactly what was their level of authority supposed to be in ISKCON. The original GBC was established in 1970, and over the course of the next 7 years, Srila Prabhupada diligently oversaw to make sure that the GBC was fully able to manage the mission after his departure. In the later of those 7 years, several times Srila Prabhupada removed himself from the day-to-day oversight to give dry test runs in order to make sure that the GBC and the system of management that he had established was able to function smoothly without his physical presence and day-to-day input. This gives us insight into how much time and effort Srila Prabhupada spent to assure that ISKCON could go on functioning properly even after he departs. Yet that smooth continuation was predicated on his instruction that the GBC not change anything regarding the system as Srila Prabhupada had set it up. And that makes intelligent sense. That the same system that he had spent years setting up and that he fully tested out while he was present, it makes total intellectual sense that he would want that system, that very system, remain as it was without any changes to it. However, just after Srila Prabhupada departed, the GBC introduced multiple gurus, multiple masters. Guru means master or authority. So now, along with the GBC, who Srila Prabhupada instructed were to be the ultimate authorities for ISKCON, there are now 11 new other masters. Multiple new authorities in ISKCON that didn't exist when Srila Prabhupada was setting up and testing out the system of management. The addition of these new masters forced the GBC to start making drastic changes to the way the GBC managed Prabhupada's mission. They now had to give up some of their authority and had to hand it over to the new gurus. This despite Srila Prabhupada's written order for them not to make any such changes. Previously, Srila Prabhupada was the one and only guru or master for ISKCON. As ISKCON's one and only master, he remained above the GBC. He created the GBC. He appointed new members to the GBC. He could remove a member from the GBC. He could shuffle them around, which he actually did do at times. Or he could even disband the entire lot, which he did once as well, and restart the GBC all over. He held full authority over the GBC. He was ISKCON's founder, Acharya, the one and only spiritual master of his ISKCON mission. But after he departed, the GBC had introduced multiple masters within ISKCON. They say that this was what Srila Prabhupada wanted. But it doesn't look like this is what he had planned on. As a master of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada had authority separate from and above the GBC. What about the new masters? Should they now have authority separate from the GBC? So just exactly where does the authority of the new ISKCON multi-guru masters fit into the system of management that Srila Prabhupada had set up? This gnawing question bewildered the GBC in 1978, and it has remained unresolved to the present day. Here on my left, but it will be your right as you're viewing, here this chart shows the system as it was when Srila Prabhupada was present. When Srila Prabhupada wrote that the system shall remain as it is, no need of any change. Srila Prabhupada was the one and only guru who held full authority over and above the GBC and the remaining managerial structure of ISKCON. In his absence, Srila Prabhupada has stated that the GBC will become the ultimate authority. If there were no other Guru Masters, this would be the same system that Srila Prabhupada has spent 7 years setting up and testing out. This would have been the system which he had instructed there shall be no changes made to it. But as soon as Srila Prabhupada departed, the GBC introduced the multiple Guru system. Now there were 11 new masters. So where on this chart do they fit in? Guru means master, and by definition, master means one who has authority. For the disciple, one's guru is to be that of the disciple's ultimate master. For over 40 years now, this big question has bothered and haunted the GBC, and they have grappled around in the dark trying to figure it out. When Srila Prabhupada was present, he and he alone was the one and only guru, master in all of ISKCON. And he firmly sat above the GBC. The new gurus are by definition supposed to be masters and authorities. As masters, should they also sit over and above the GBC, just as Srila Prabhupada had? If so, then just how high, just how far above? Oh, what? Hold it, you say? Oh, wait, I see. They can't be above the GBC because Srila Prabhupada had instructed that the GBC shall be the ultimate authority when he leaves. And ultimate means there can't be an authority above them except Srila Prabhupada's teachings, which I refer to here as the absolute authority. If Srila Prabhupada had written that the purpose of the GBC is to execute his instructions. Well, then the new gurus, the new masters, will just have to be an authority under the GBC. That would conform to Srila Prabhupada's instructions that the GBC become the ultimate authority. But then this would mean that the ISKCON gurus will become subordinates to the GBC. As I had said earlier, that would make the GBC the masters over and above all the other masters. But to keep ISKCON's management structure, there appears to be no alternative. The new gurus will just have to be subordinate to the higher masters in the same ashram where that person acts as a master. The new gurus will have to be lower authority for their disciples. And note that the new gurus would only be any sort of authority just for those who they initiate. They would not be any sort of an authority for Prabhupada's disciples or the disciples of any other guru. Well, that really shakes up the managerial structure. And while the new gurus will be an authority below the GBC, the question is, how low? I mean, how low can a guru go? Sorry, Chuck Berry, we're not playing limbo rock here. But this was my question, just how low can the new gurus go? If the gurus are to be lower authority than GBC, then are they to be lower than the temple president? Well, no. I mean, what sort of master is that? Temple presidents can't be ordering gurus around. I mean, no way can a guru, he just can't be lower than a temple president. But they can be lower than the GBC? Well, yeah, I mean, they'll just have to be since Srila Prabhupada said the GBC would become the ultimate authority. But if the guru can be lower than the GBC authority, why not make them lower than the temple president also? I mean, after all, the GBC has just been making up the rules as they go along here, and they keep changing them when they feel like it. So why not make the guru even lower than the temple president? In one attempt out of many to resolve this, the GBC tried promoting the idea of whoa, where did that come from? No, I don't mean the oracle voice. I mean, where did the idea come from? Who gave the GBC authority to say that there are now to be 11 or 111 or 11,000?
Parallel lines of authority.
Yeah, like he said, parallel to the GBC. In all of Srila Prabhupada's instructions regarding how ISKCON was to be managed, he never said one word about how in the future the GBC will be sharing its authority with hundreds of parallel authorities. Rather, in writing, he stated that after he departs, the GBC shall become the ultimate authority, and ultimate means there is no other equal or parallel authority. Obviously, this idea of
parallel lines of authority
is something totally cooked up and concocted in the GBC's guru kitchen. The idea has no basis in Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Claiming gurus to be parallel or equal authorities to GBC totally disrupts and invalidates the system of management that Srila Prabhupada had established for his ISKCON mission. The entire concept and idea of parallel authorities is a totally cooked up concoction. Here on this side of the screen is the list again of instructions given by Srila Prabhupada as to the various prescribed duties of the GBC. Note that while Srila Prabhupada originally formed the GBC in July of 1970, most of these instructions were given in 1972, wherein one letter of that year, Srila Prabhupada says that he now wants that the GBC will do his work. So I want to note here that these are spiritual duties. As Srila Prabhupada had said in his own words, that the GBC was to do his work concerning these duties. Srila Prabhupada had explicitly, clearly prescribed these spiritual duties to be performed by the GBC with no mention of the GBC ever giving up these duties in the future. Rather, the instruction he had given in May of 1977 for the future, after he was no longer present, was that the system of management shall remain or shall continue as it is now. There is no need of any change. That means that it is a deviation from Srila Prabhupada's written order for the GBC to have ceased performing these duties in the capacity of GBC and to have given these duties to the gurus. And in the process of sharing their authority with additional new authorities, parallel or otherwise, it is totally against Srila Prabhupada's instructions that the GBC would become only the managers of the material aspects and not manage the spiritual aspects of the mission and its members. Note that he wrote that it is the temple presidents who are to handle the practical or material management. The main business of the GBC is seeing that the spiritual standards are upheld, to care for the spiritual welfare of ISKCON's members. Their main duty is not mundane management, as many had proposed, as a means of trying to artificially squeeze and force the gurus into the system that Srila Prabhupada had set up. Over and over again, Srila Prabhupada stresses that the spiritual well-being of the members and spiritual standards of the temples, these are the duties and responsibilities of the GBC. As far as practical management, that Srila Prabhupada instructed the temple presidents can do, and they can take advice and assistance from their GBC representatives as needed. Besides this idea of
parallel lines of authority,
or any sort of system of shared authority, they can get really messy since there is no real workable structure. Say at a temple you have 20 devotees, and each of them has a different guru. For that temple, there is only one GBC who is the local member of the ultimate authority of the GBC body, but now you have 20 other parallel or shared spiritual authorities. In this case, one such authority for each of the 20 members. However, as it is in ISKCON today, none of those 20 devotees would care a fig for the GBC's authority, which is a rejection of Srila Prabhupada's instruction that we accept the GBC as our ultimate authority. So each of these 20 devotees would have their own separate guru authority that they choose to surrender to and follow and request them to give spiritual guidance and to care for their spiritual well-being, etc. Each of the 20 members will be seeking advice from 20 different separate authorities. As I pointed out in today's ISKCON, unless the local GBC is a guru, the GBC man today doesn't have hardly any importance in the day-to-day lives of ISKCON's members. They don't give spiritual guidance or maintain the members' spiritual lives or engage us in our devotional services or lead us in preaching and making new members. In this way, the actual authority of the GBC has been drastically diminished to the point of almost nil. Most grand disciples only see and accept their own separate guru as their personal ultimate authority. This is disruptive, and it fosters factionalism, conflict. It erodes the efficacy of Srila Prabhupada's instructions that we, all the members of ISKCON, must accept the GBC as our ultimate authority. In that instruction given by Srila Prabhupada, there is no mention or allowance for sharing their authority parallel or otherwise with many gurus. This parallel idea winds up becoming the same problem you wind up with when you have so many cooks in a kitchen. There is no final authority, no hierarchy of authority, no accepted ultimate authority. Eventually, ISKCON would end up with hundreds and hundreds of separate authorities, which really means there is no authority. And it would all fall into chaos. So then, exactly where do the current gurus fit into the authority structure? I mean, the gurus have to be an authority above the temple presidents, right? Well, not really. Here's an analogy I came up with. A devotee who is not a guru goes to a new city and opens a preaching center. By his preaching, he makes a number of new devotees. And at some point, a sannyasi guru, who is not a GBC, passes through, and two of the new devotees decide to take initiation from this guru. 2 years go by, and one of these devotees has become the main cook, and he cooks all of the devotees' meals. He cooks the deities' offerings, and he cooks practically the whole Sunday feast. The other devotee has been trained by the temple president as a preacher, and he has developed an extremely good relation with the Indian community, and he's been able to collect large monthly donations. Because of his preaching, because of the donations coming in, this preaching center has now begun construction on a large new temple. Well, their guru lives in another country, and when he learns how good his disciple is in raising large donations, he decides he wants that disciple to come stay with him and help him collect funds so he can start his own temple, build his own big temple. And also his personal servant just got married, and he needs another personal cook. So the guru calls his two disciples and orders them, jump on the very next plane, leave their current temple, and come help him. Srila Prabhupada teaches, the instructions received from the spiritual master must be followed immediately. One should not deviate from or surpass the instructions of the spiritual master. From Srimad Bhagavatam 5:5-14. The order of the spiritual master must be obeyed without consideration. From the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 10:145. Their guru has given these disciples, his disciples, an order. According to the instructions given by Srila Prabhupada, these disciples must immediately obey their guru without any consideration. Srila Prabhupada has also said,
to accept Guru means whatever Guru says, you have to accept. Otherwise, don't make Guru. Don't make a fashion.
This is from a lecture on Bhagavad Gita in London, the August 8th, 1973. Yet, out of courtesy, these two devotees go to their temple president and inform their temple president that they'll be leaving the next day at noon. The temple president is understandably upset. He calls the local GBC and tells him they have no one else to cook, and the construction of the new temple depends on this other devotee's ability to bring in monthly donations. I mean, they're basically screwed without these two devotees. The GBC gets on the phone to this guru and tells him, you can't do this. At the very least, you have to give enough time for the temple president to find replacements for these two men. The guru says, sorry, but these two men are my disciples. I am their guru. And as the guru, I not only have the right, but it is my duty to give instructions to my disciples. And I've instructed them to leave that temple and come join me immediately. As my disciples, they have no choice. They must obey my order. The GBC man says, no, come on, you have to work with the GBC and the temple presidents. You can't just yank these two devotees from the temple without coordinating with the temple president first. The guru says, there is no such instruction given in the scripture or in Srila Prabhupada's teachings that says that a guru cannot give an order to his disciple without first getting permission from a temple president or even a GBC. That would make the guru a lesser authority than the temple president. We all know that is bogus. So sorry, but as a guru, I am not under the authority of a temple president. The guru is the higher authority for the disciple. And I'm not even under your authority as as a GBC because we share parallel lines of authority. We are equal. So really, you can't order me around any more than I can order you around. You have no authority telling me as a guru what I can or can't order my disciples to do. I am their guru, and it is my duty as their guru to instruct my disciples as I see fit. The GBC man says, look, this is a managerial issue. And as GBC, I am the managerial authority, so you can't order your disciples to leave here with such short notice as that will disrupt our ability to manage things here. The guru replies, but as the guru of these two devotees, I have determined that it is best for their spiritual lives that they immediately come live with me and help me. And as their guru, that is entirely up to me to determine what is best for them spiritually. Therefore, this is not a material issue. This is a spiritual issue, and therefore my disciples must obey the order of their spiritual master. You see the problem. Srila Prabhupada had instructed the GBC to be the ultimate authority in ISKCON. But if the GBC orders these men to stay, then he has to order them to disobey their guru's order. That goes squarely against the scripture. The disciple must obey the order given by their guru immediately, without any other consideration. For the GBC to preach and give advice against this is totally bogus. But if the GBC can't order these men to stay, that would mean that the guru would be an authority above the GBC, because the guru would have the ultimate authority over these devotees, and not the GBC, as Prabhupada had instructed. The gurus would then be acting as if they were actually the guru or master of their disciples or something like that. Well, that is what a guru is. Or technically and scripturally, at least, that is what a guru is supposed to be. But if the GBC cannot have the ultimate authority in cases like this, then there will no longer be in ISKCON. They won't be able to manage ISKCON, and eventually ISKCON will become chaotic and fall apart. But if the guru cannot decide on when and what instructions to give his disciples, but has to first get permission from his disciples' temple president, then the guru wouldn't even have the authority over that of a temple president. And what sort of useless show model guru is that? He's supposed to be the master for his disciples. He's supposed to be the spiritual authority for his disciples. The guru is supposed to be able to give such orders as he sees fit. To not be allowed to do so, that would make such a guru basically useless and not even as high of an authority as a temple president. To accept guru means whatever guru says you have to accept. Otherwise, don't make guru. Don't make fashion. If the GBC has to instruct members not to accept these sort of instructions given by the ISKCON gurus, then the GBC should not be in the business of making such useless, just for show, fashion gurus. And if the disciples of such gurus are not committed to obey whatever order their guru gives them, then they should not be taking such men as their gurus. Otherwise, they're just taking the guru as a fashion guru. And if the gurus aren't allowed to freely instruct their disciples as they see fit, then they aren't really any sort of an actual guru. Again, they're just for show, fashion gurus only. The guru is supposed to be able to give orders like this to his disciples. And the disciples are supposed to carry out such orders given by their spiritual master immediately without any other consideration. These are the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. But none of these things can be done in ISKCON, or ISKCON would totally fall apart. After analyzing this, I came to the conclusion that really there is no place for such gurus in ISKCON at all. It is totally incompatible to have real gurus within ISKCON as Srila Prabhupada, in the ISKCON that Srila Prabhupada had set up. It is incompatible with the system of management and GBC authority that Srila Prabhupada created. In ISKCON today, there is more or less an unwritten rule that gurus can't pull rank and authority over temple presidents. Of course, this makes ISKCON gurus a lesser authority than the temple president. How low can the guru go? Thank you, Chuck Berry. But then what about temple commanders or head pujaris or temple dishwashers, or where on the totem pole do the ISKCON gurus belong? What about temples whose devotee members have disciples from 50 different gurus, and all of a sudden a number of gurus start ordering their disciples to jump on the next plane and leave that temple, or the gurus give orders telling them to change their service or the like, all without any regard to the temple management where those disciples live? There would be chaos. And if the GBC issues an order to the ISKCON members telling them not to obey such orders given by their gurus, such advice is a direct violation of Scripture and Srila Prabhupada's instructions if those men are, as the GBC have been saying, actual and true gurus. Of course, if they are Rtvik, then yes, Rtvik representatives are not gurus and have no special relationship with those they perform the initiation ceremonies for. Thus, they have no authority to order such initiated devotees because they're not actual gurus. Today, who should the disciples of the current gurus ultimately obey? According to Scripture, they must obey their guru. There is no question about this. That is, if the person who performed their initiation ceremony was, for a fact, a true and actual real guru. And yet, according to Srila Prabhupada's instructions, all members of ISKCON must obey ISKCON's highest authority, and that is the GBC. And the GBC cannot allow gurus to be giving such disruptive orders to their disciples. Then ISKCON's GBC shouldn't be making such useless gurus just as a fashion. And here we have another paradoxical conundrum. How can this be resolved? My point is, it cannot be resolved. It is impossible to resolve this as long as ISKCON is on the current multi-guru path. The way Srila Prabhupada set up the system of management at ISKCON, there can only be but one real guru, with the GBC carrying on with his work of giving spiritual guidance, looking after the spiritual welfare of the members in their zone, and the Rtvik Representative performing the initiation ceremonies on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. That is the only way which avoids such a conundrum. Then there is no paradox. Practically, nastyeva. There is no other way than the Rtvik Guru system to resolve these issues. The only reason that this has not become a major issue in ISKCON so far is that the gurus have remained more or less subordinate to the GBC and know that the GBC and temple presidents couldn't manage if they tried to pull rank like this and give such orders to their disciples without any consideration to the temple authorities where the disciples live. But that doesn't mean that this issue won't rear its ugly head and threaten the existence of ISKCON in the future. All that must occur is that a number of the big gurus with thousands of disciples decide they want to act like real gurus. It is only a matter of time before this happens on such a scale that ISKCON would fall apart practically overnight. If you allow gurus to give orders without any regards to the temple or GBC authorities, it will create total havoc. But if the guru cannot give orders without first taking permission from a temple president, this reduces the guru authority to be less than that of the temple presidents. And if the GBC were to instruct the devotees not to follow the orders of the guru, then the GBC should not be making such useless fashion gurus. What this multi-guru system in ISKCON creates is paradoxical conundrum maximus. Let me insert an example here, how a real guru acts as the real master of his disciples within the ashrams where that person, that guru, is truly the true guru or master. It's actually a story that Bardraj, a senior Prabhupada disciple, told us that took place in 1972. Bardraj at that time was ISKCON's leading BBT artist. The paintings for the Macmillan Bhagavad Gita had recently been completed, and Bardraj had a hand in the majority of those paintings. He painted a number of them, including the painting of Krishna and Arjuna on the cover. And he made sketches for many other of the other paintings which the other artists painted. Before that, he oversaw many of the paintings of the Krishna book, Nectar Devotion, and the early Bhagavatams, etc. Srila Prabhupada visited the ISKCON Press, or BBT, art department in 1972. And at that time, he asked for an artist to volunteer to go to Mayapur to learn the art of what Srila Prabhupada called dolls. These are actually diorama exhibits. No one volunteered. So Prabhupada turned to Bardraj, the BBT's main and most talented artist at the time, and said, "Bardraj, you shall go." And that was it. Srila Prabhupada sent him to Mayapur. Srila Prabhupada didn't seek the permission of the head of the ISKCON Press, or BBT, nor did he have to request and get the permission of the New York Temple president, which is where the art department was located at the time. Nor did Srila Prabhupada have to seek the permission of the GBC for New York either. Nor did he seek the permission of the temple management or the GBC for Mayapur. Rather, Srila Prabhupada informed the GBC and temple management for Mayapur that Bardraj was coming and instructed them to give him full facility when he comes. That is a real guru. That is the real master of his own ashram and organization. Such guru has full authority over his disciples and his ashram. He doesn't have to ask permission from any other higher authority of the ashram or temples before he gives such instructions to his disciple. And because he is the guru because he is the guru of Bardraj, when Srila Prabhupada turned and told Bardraj, "You shall go," Bardraj had no choice but to immediately accept the order of his guru. The same for the head of the BBT or ISKCON Press. When Srila Prabhupada ordered Bardraj to go, that was it. The head of the press had no other choice but to accept. Same with the temple president and the GBC for New York Temple, and the same with the GBC and temple president for Mayapur. Prabhupada just told them, he ordered them, "Give this man facility, I am sending him." And everyone accepted and carried out his order. The guru is by definition the authority, the master for both of his disciples and for the ashram or ashrams where he acts as guru. That was fully exhibited by Srila Prabhupada. But this is not the situation for the current so-called gurus in ISKCON, who are severely restricted in this way, as they're just not the actual masters for those who they call their disciples, nor are they the actual masters of the ashrams where they pose as gurus. They aren't allowed to freely give such orders to their disciples as a real guru can. To accept
Guru means whatever Guru says, you have to accept. Otherwise, don't make guru. Don't make a fashion.
Don't make a fashion. The purpose of the governing body commission is to act as the instrument for the execution of the will of His Divine Grace. This is from the Direction of Management, 1970. The governing body commission will be the ultimate managing authority of the entire International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The system of management will continue as it is now, and there is no need of any change. This is from Srila Prabhupada's Declaration of Will, June of 1977. What action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. This is from Bhagavad Gita 3:21. The problem is that introducing multiple gurus into that existing system, it was like throwing a huge monkey wrench into Srila Prabhupada's system of management. When I tried to answer the question, where did these multiple gurus fit into ISKCON's system of management? Where do they fit into the hierarchy of authority that was set up by Srila Prabhupada? The only logical answer was that, frankly, they just don't fit in anywhere.